Did you know that something you do every day, perhaps even right now, could be accelerating the aging of your brain without you realizing it? It's scary to think that small lapses in memory, such as walking into a room and not remembering why, or having someone's name on the tip of your tongue and not being able to remember it, could be the first signs that something deeper is happening inside your mind. But that's exactly what science has shown in recent years. I am Dr. Soffia Martin, a specialist in brain health and healthy aging. For over 20 years, I have been working with people who believed they were just getting older, when in fact, what was happening was the result of small, silent inflammations that little by little began to erase memories, reduce focus, and even affect mood. The good news is that today we know it is possible to interrupt this process and even reverse part of it with something simple, natural, and accessible. Few people know this, but there is a powerful ingredient studied by universities around the world, capable of blocking the mechanisms that lead to Alzheimer's and stimulating brain cell regeneration. It is not a miracle cure, nor is it a passing fad. It is a substance that acts precisely, protecting neural connections and helping the brain regain its clarity and vitality, even after the age of 60. I have seen men and women who used to forget appointments, names, and even stories from their own lives feel lucid, confident, and present again, just by making a small adjustment to their routine. And that's exactly what I want to talk to you about today, because understanding what's going on inside your brain is the first step to transforming it, no matter how old you are. Now tell me here in the comments which city or country you're watching us from. I love to know how far this message reaches. Enjoy and share this video with someone you love who also needs to take care of their health. In the next few minutes, I want to show you what's really behind memory loss, why it starts long before the symptoms appear, and most importantly, how your brain can start to regenerate today with something that may already be in your kitchen. How many times have you found yourself saying, "It's just fatigue," or "It's just age"? The truth is that many of the signs our bodies send us go unnoticed because we have learned to normalize what is not normal. That difficulty concentrating, forgetting where you left your keys, the feeling that the day is ending and you can't quite remember what you did. All of this seems harmless, but it could be the beginning of something that deserves attention. I know life is busy. We wake up already thinking about what we need to get done. We often skip meals, sleep less than we need to, and try to compensate for fatigue with coffee or sugar. We live on autopilot, and the brain, which is the center of everything, tries to keep up with this frenetic pace until it starts to show signs of overload. It doesn't scream, it just whispers, with subtle forgetfulness, lapses in focus, mood swings, small failures that we insist on ignoring. Many of my patients come to the office believing they are fine. But a deeper conversation is enough to realize how much the body and mind are crying out for rest, nutrition, and silence. It is not weakness. It is not a lack of willpower. It is biology. The brain is like a delicate machine that, if it doesn't get the right fuel, gradually starts to break down. And most worryingly, this can start decades before any diagnosis. Think about how many times you've traded a good night's sleep for more screen time, or how many quick meals have replaced real, nutritious food. These choices seem small, but they repeat themselves every day, accumulating an impact that the brain can no longer compensate for on its own. The mind loses clarity, energy decreases, and memory begins to fail. Not because you are getting older, but because your body is trying to warn you that something needs to change. When we begin to see these signs with attention and respect, everything changes. Because forgetfulness, lack of focus, and mental fatigue are not the problem itself. They are a reflection of something deeper happening inside the brain. And that's exactly what I want you to understand next. What many people don't realize is that inside our bodies, the brain is in constant motion, even when we are at rest. It doesn't sleep or rest completely. Every second, billions of neurons exchange electrical signals, like tiny sparks of light transmitting information that defines who we are, our memories, emotions, and decisions. When these connections are healthy, we think clearly, remember easily, and feel pleasure in living. But all it takes is one imbalance, and this harmony begins to break down silently. Imagine the brain as a living city, with streets, bridges, and avenues where chemical messages circulate. Now, think about what happens when traffic in this city is blocked by trash, pollution, or power outages. Gradually, the roads become congested, and communication between neurons begins to fail. This is exactly what happens when the brain faces chronic inflammation, excess sugar, constant stress, and poor sleep. The body tries to compensate, but the overload accumulates, and the result appears in the form of memory lapses, difficulty concentrating, and mental fatigue. But here's the point that almost no one talks about. These failures are not signs of inevitable aging, but rather cries for help from the brain itself. When we sleep poorly, for example, the brain's cleaning system, called the glymphatic system, cannot remove the toxins that accumulate between neurons. It's like letting trash pile up in your house for days. Inflammation increases, and toxic proteins, such as beta amyloid, begin to deposit in nerve connections, interfering with memory and reasoning. Have you ever noticed how, after a bad night's sleep, everything seems more confusing? The brain works under a fog, as if the information were there but inaccessible. Now imagine this state repeated for months or years. This is how Alzheimer's begins to set in. Not suddenly, but drop by drop, cell by cell. And there is another powerful factor: stress. When we are constantly worried, the body releases hormones such as cortisol, which in excess corrode brain cells, especially in a region called the hippocampus, responsible for memory. It is as if the brain were on permanent alert, with no time to repair the damage. So when forgetfulness appears, it is not an isolated event, but a reflection of years of small internal aggressions. The good news is that this same brain that wears out also has an extraordinary capacity for regeneration. It is plastic, adaptable, and responds impressively to the right stimuli. And this is exactly where the turnaround begins. Because science has discovered that certain nutrients and natural compounds can not only protect these connections, but also activate the brain regeneration process, something that, until recently, seemed impossible. This is where it all starts to make sense. By understanding this process, I began to observe something curious in many of my patients. People who, after years of believing that forgetfulness was just a natural part of aging, began to regain vitality and mental clarity with simple changes. I remember Carmen, 72, a sweet woman who loved gardening, who came to my office saying she no longer trusted her own memory. She forgot the names of the flowers she had been growing for decades. During our consultations, I realized that her diet was low in natural foods and high in processed products. We made small adjustments and introduced a specific ingredient into her routine, something that seemed symbolic, but over time completely transformed her relationship with her own body. Within 3 months, Carmen felt lucid and active again, and, according to her, with a head as light as a breeze. Cases like hers are not uncommon. Manuel, 68, retired, spent much of his life without worrying about his diet. When he came to see me, he said that his mind no longer obeyed as it used to. He started walking daily and included a natural compound rich in antioxidants and anti-inflammatories in his diet. Within a few weeks, the improvement in his mood and clarity of thought was evident. The sparkle in the eyes of those who regain self-confidence is something that science can measure, but only the heart can truly understand. Recent research has confirmed what for many years seemed to be only clinical intuition. A study published by Harvard University showed that foods rich in anti-inflammatory compounds reduce the risk of cognitive decline in adults over 60 by up to 30%. The World Health Organization also points out that lifestyle is responsible for more than 90% of the factors that influence brain health. In other words, it is not time that erases our memories, but the way we take care, or fail to take care, of our brains. Seeing these data take on a face, a name, and a story is what inspires me every day. Because behind each number, there is a life that smiles again. A mother who remembers her children's birthdays, a grandfather who tells stories without getting lost in his words, a person who once again feels the pleasure of being present. That's when I realize that medicine is not just science, It's also listening, patience, and love of life. What seemed like a minor detail, a simple daily care routine, a conscious food choice, a moment of movement and true rest, proved to be one of the most important keys to preserving not only the brain, but also our very essence. After understanding all this, it becomes clearer why so many of us feel that we are losing something. Not just memory, but presence, clarity, the brightness of truly being here. The brain does not get sick overnight. It gives signs, silently cries for help, and the body responds with small warnings, repeated forgetfulness, persistent fatigue, lack of pleasure in simple things. It's not just about sleeping poorly or eating in a hurry. It's about what happens inside us when we don't give the brain what it needs to regenerate. Science explains it, but life confirms it. Every cell in our body depends on the energy that comes from the balance between mind, emotion, and nutrition. When we sleep, eat well, and keep our bodies moving, we create an internal environment where the brain can breathe, clear toxins, and rebuild its connections. But when we ignore these needs, we create the opposite scenario: inflammation, stress, accumulation of brain waste, and, little by little, the erasure of mental vitality. I see this every day. People who arrive believing that forgetfulness is a punishment of age and leave understanding that it is only a reflection of years of living in survival mode. When they realize they can choose a new path, a path of care, awareness, and consistency, something changes in their eyes. It's as if a part of them starts breathing again. Lucidity, after all, is not just remembering the past, but being able to live the present to the fullest. The difference between aging with clarity and losing control of one's mind is not found in great medicines or miraculous discoveries. It lies in small daily gestures repeated with love and intention. Every small choice you make at night can be an investment or a risk for tomorrow. And when we understand this, care ceases to be an obligation and becomes gratitude for being alive, for being able to change, for still having time. Now that you understand what really happens inside your brain and the power you have in your hands, I want to take you one step further. Imagine waking up feeling light-minded, quick thinking, and sharp-memoried, knowing that every simple action you take is helping your brain regenerate. It is possible, and that's what I want to guide you through now. How to turn this knowledge into real practice with steps you can start today. Now that you understand why this happens, let's talk about what can be done starting today. The good news is that taking care of your brain doesn't require drastic changes, but rather consistent gestures. Small actions, repeated consciously, have the power to transform what seemed inevitable. Start slowly, at your own pace, and remember, the body responds when it is cared for with patience. Include foods that nourish your brain cells every day. Use turmeric, that golden powder that may be forgotten in your kitchen, along with a pinch of black pepper to enhance its absorption. Add it to soups, rice, or prepare golden milk before bed. Combine this with red fruits, extra virgin olive oil, and fresh, real foods. And whenever possible, avoid ultra-processed foods that inflame the body and confuse the mind. Get moving. You don't need a gym or a lot of effort. A light 20-minute walk, a dance, gardening, or simply stretching your body are enough to increase oxygen flow to the brain. Movement is fuel for the mind. And take care of your sleep. It's the time when the brain cleans, organizes, and renews its connections. Go to bed at the same time every night, reduce your screen time, and allow yourself to rest without guilt. These simple gestures are more powerful than they seem. Every balanced meal, every good night's sleep, and every deep breath sends a silent message to your body. I am taking care of you. And the body understands, responds, and reorganizes itself. Lucidity and vitality are not privileges reserved for the few. They are the result of the daily, loving care we cultivate when no one is watching. The future begins with these small gestures. Imagine waking up in a few weeks, feeling your mind lighter, more focused, happier, and clearer. It's possible. The brain is grateful, and it rewards every conscious choice you make. Taking care of yourself is not vanity. It's respect for your own history, and for all the memories you still want to experience. Now tell me here in the comments which city or country you are watching us from. I like to know how far this message reaches. And if this content has helped you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone you love. That way, more people can learn to take better care of their health.